Do you want to know how to create the smallest Rome? Easy. Start in whatever date you want. I prefer 1066, but you do you. Pick a duchy outside of Italy, the Byzantines, or the HRE. I picked Provence in Burgundy, dismantle the HRE, then collect every duchy from them except for Crane, form a new kingdom, and voila, somehow you just added Burgundy to the HRE for no reason. All right, take two. Start in Italy, conquer all of Italy, dismantle the HRE, then grab the lands needed to unify Italia. Form Italia, die, then continue as an adventurer who takes over Burgundy. Conquer all of Italia except for Venice, create a custom empire. Why is it green? Then take the remaining lands required to restore Rome, hit the decision, and just like that, you have a pretty average sized Rome. Dang, well, third time's the charm, as they say. Let's see how you actually create the smallest Rome possible in Crusader Kings 3. Y'all better not sleep on this video. Speaking of sleep, today's video is sponsored by Manta Sleep. Longtime viewers know how much stock I put into good sleep. I've used sleep masks in the past, but none that match this quality. I got my hands on their Manta Pro Sleep Mask, which does an amazing job of creating a zero light environment. Unlike other sleep masks where I feel the mask pressure on my eyes, a Manta Sleep Mask causes zero eye pressure. On top of that, the eye cups are able to be adjusted to fit your face perfectly. As a chronic side sleeper, they've even engineered a mask perfect for me. Not a side sleeper, that's fine. They make a wide range of masks, from cooling mask to one made with silk, and even a mask with Bluetooth speakers. Check out Manta Sleep in the description below and use DIFB at checkout for 10% off. We started this challenge with a custom character in the Duchy of Provence. Why Provence? Because it sits inside the HRE, giving us the Emperor's protection, while also being outside the de jure territory controlled by either Rome. That makes it a perfect starting point for building our own empire. It's also right next to the regions we eventually need to conquer, making expansion much easier. We are on the right game rules, right? I think we want Franco-Kratia and Martial advantage to be up. Other than that, I think we're good. Yes. Impact is at 10, so the more advantage you have, the more impact you're doing. And then Franco-Kratia, which essentially says the Second Crusade has a likely chance to attack the Byzantines and shatter them, which would be great. Make our lives a whole of a lot easier. Once Martin, our stewardship-focused wonder boy, was ready to go, we arranged a marriage with a genius wife, setting our future generations up with some crack stats. The marriage costs a hefty amount of legitimacy. Legitimacy is important for the stability of the realm. During the wedding celebration, we also managed to secure an alliance with the Pope so we could make use of his armies and bottomless wallet in future wars. Somehow, it actually worked. Martin, she says, just small package. I've saved this since I heard of our betrothal and now I offer you the token of my love. So she's giving up her dildo for our lowborn wife is like, I no longer need this. You are now my dildo replacer. With the celebration over, it was time to make money. Originally, we planned to develop our own lands, but as I got distracted by the idea of grabbing a mine, conveniently, Sardinia happens to have one. While fabricating our claims there, we visited the Pope to study learning, grind piety, and prepare for the future schemes. By 1071, Martin, our son and heir, was already looking ridiculous for a 3-year-old. Curious, a traveler, pilgrim, intelligent, a kid was stacked. The realm was also in a strong position, so that we finally timed to invade Sardinia. This man, for our claims, let's call in our ally, the Pope. Mr. Papa, get on in here. Get on in here, Mr. Papa. While the Sardinian War was raging on, we got insanely lucky. Thanks to being best buds with the Pope, we managed to secure claims on both Piedmont and Savoy. From a literal child, KBC steamrolled Sardinia with barely any help from us, and by 1073, the mine was ours. We immediately set our sights on forming Burgundy. Another absurd lucky claim fell into our lap, the Kingdom of Croatia. This was a huge get because once you become king, the Pope stops handing out claims on kingdom titles. The war with Piedmont was a complete stop, helped heavily by Bohemia and the papal troops crushing everything in sight. Even though El Cid is good, but he's not that good. By 1076, the only thing standing between us and the Kingdom of Burgundy was 500 gold needed to create it. Thankfully, after blackmailing half of the Byzantine Empire, including the Emperor himself, we scraped together enough cash through hooks and finally formed the Kingdom of Burgundy. We're 2 points away, 3 points away from that. We could do another pilgrimage. The very next year, we declared war for Croatia. It was a perfect pickup since we required it to form Rome and would massively boost our troop count and income. Naturally, the moment we declared for the Croatian crown, everything immediately started falling apart. I swear the AI exists purely to make my challenges runs miserable. We were unable to capture the land because the title no longer exists. And it looks like we lost our window of opportunity. That sucks. Well, I mean, what's the worst? That we just lost some money. Sancho's crown? Who the fuck is Sancho? Oh, what a dick. Sancho names the crown after him. The crown of Burgundy? What the fuck? Still, it was now time to crown King Martin, the first of his name. The coronation actually went great. Our wife gifted us a pretty goated mace. Like maces of all the weapons seem like the scariest because it's just like a giant club with more damage modifiers, depending on how it's like the Morning Star versus the other ones where it's just like absolutely can crash into somebody's helmet and destroy them. And we took expansion oath because there was basically no reason not to. Now with Burgundy secured, it was time to set our sights on the next major target, the Kingdom of Italy. Because of our game settings, having high martial commanders is incredibly important. So we went out of country and we recruited Joseph from the Byzantines, married him to a high martial wife, and granted him the Duchy of Savoy. The hope was that he'd become an absolute monster on the battlefield and stack wipe our enemies every time. Before we declared war on Lombardy, it was time for another pilgrimage, this time to Cologne. The trip earned us even more piety and learning, both of which would be essential later when we eventually turned our attention towards the Byzantine lands. By 1083, we're finally ready to attack. Winning this war would put us in position to form Italy. Unfortunately, Lombardy was allied with one of our own allies, Bohemia, meaning we might have to fight them too. Luckily for us, Bohemia was already tied up in another war. It might be a while before the Bohemians decide to show their mugs down here in the south. So there was a chance we would finish the conflict before their armies even arrived. Once again, we called upon the Pope for support. And by 1085, we had secured enough war score to win. The victory gave us all the territory needed for the Kingdom of Italy. Almost immediately after creating the title, the emperor started showering us with gifts, handing over Tuscany, Istria, and Genoa, making our future expansion much easier. With most of Italy now under our control, it was time to start scheming against the Kaiser. A lot of good. So let's do this against the Lord, create a dissolution faction. Can we add any members? No. But we are strong enough to do it. Let's get another alliance real quick. Alliance power. He had outlived his usefulness, so naturally we decided to attack him. Problem was that he was allied with the Byzantines far too much for us to handle at this stage. Instead, we decided to handle things the Crusader King's way. Murder. Specifically his sister, in hopes the alliance would collapse. While that scheme was progressing, we also finished conquering Croatia. Unfortunately, our murder plot against the Kaiser's sister, who had since become Empress of the Byzantines, was going nowhere. After gaining the spy master position, we switched targets, plotting directly against the HRE Emperor himself. These guys are going to show up and try to fight us, but I think our commander is better and we're doing more things. We can vassalize more people. Did France pop open? Oh my. Sure. Would love to own France. All the French neighbors. Around the same time, France completely imploded, giving us an opportunity to gobble up a huge chunk of the lands practically for free. This immediately created realm-sized problems that we could only barely manage. By 1092, we finally took our shot at the emperor and successfully assassinated him. The moment he died, we pressed our dissolution claim against the Kaiser before he could stabilize the empire. We probably should have waited a little bit longer to get our troops reconnoitered, but it's fine. And of course, once again, we called upon the Pope to make the war far easier. At this point, Pope Alexander II honestly deserves most of the credit for our success thus far. Wooden phallus! We gotta repair that. Can't lose the wooden phallus. I don't think we'll win this fight. Oh, no, we do. And that's the end of the war. With the Pope's unwavering support, we crushed the HRE armies and captured their capital, which was enough to shatter the Empire's resistance. The victory opened the door for us to absorb an absurd amount of land. At this point, the realm was too big to manage properly, but at least we were thick and happy. Sure, you can be my tribute. You can be my tribute, baby. All right, we gotta get rid of some of this land, to be honest. We can't hold on to all of it. With us controlling all of France and most of the former HRE, it was finally time to hand out some territories before the too many vassal penalty completely destroyed the run. So we did the only sensible thing, married one of our daughters matrilineally to a respectable French noble, and set him up with the Duchy of Valois, along with the kingdoms of France and Brittany. We even allied him afterwards because there was basically a 0% chance his first few years on the throne were going to be stable. We've got to be ahead of our culture, right? Yeah, we are. Chronicle writing would have been smart to have it sooner, but c'est la vie. By 1095, the First Crusade had finally been called, but for some reason it targeted Pomerania instead of Jerusalem. Apparently the Slavic faith had seriously offended our boy Alex, who by this point was 85 years old and practically on death's door. As expected, we were immediately dragged into saving the French king from collapse, but a small investment now would hopefully pay off with future generations staying loyal. Let us just hurry over there and get this done. Submit to suzerain. Surprised Bohemia really hasn't exploded out. Once France was stabilized, we marched north to deal with the Pomeranian heretics ourselves, carrying the crusade almost single-handedly during the opening years. For whatever reason, every other crusade army decided to hang out around Rome first before eventually wandering north. In the end, it didn't matter. We secured the kingdom, and our daughter became the first queen of Pomerania. She invited us to her coronation, but we were a little busy pursuing the papal lands after our longtime friend Alex had finally passed. We can deck for de jure Tuscany. Do we now have Romagna? We can. So now we can go here and grab this, get all the Duchy of Latium from him. It's kind of a dick move. The Pope is always annoying to fight because he can inflate his army size with mercenaries, and a recent crusade he definitely had troops to spare, even if his treasury was probably hurting. Still, with the Byzantines backing us, the war looked like easy pickings, especially since our old commander Joseph was somehow still alive despite being completely bent over with age. Looks like our daughter died, and our son has become king of over there. That's not good. It's not exactly what we want. Cause how did she die? She just ripped to shreds by a bear. Yikes. Of course, we were dragged into another French war because the AI seems absolutely determined to throw away its title at every opportunity. Seriously, why does the AI never accept a white peace when you actually want them to? Once France was stabilized for another time, we turned our attention towards Venice, one of the key territories had needed to form Rome and technically still de jure Byzantine lands. By 1105, we were once again at war with the Pope. At first, he was absolutely beating us down, but thankfully, we managed to recruit another incredible general just in the nick of time to turn this tide in our favor. France looks stable. They have 2 children. Most of Europe is under our control. We have most of northern Italy under our control, as well as Burgundy, as well, and some other lands into the Croatians. I'm just hoping that Franco-Croatia occurs, because if it doesn't, then it's gonna be a lot of hard fought battles. King Martin was starting to get up there in age, and with the ridiculous number of children he had, it was finally time to figure out succession. Did you know one of the easiest way to clean up succession right now in CK3 is just giving one of your heirs a city title? It instantly removes them from the line of succession. A much more civilized approach compared to the classic CK3 method of murdering your kids or tossing them into dungeons until they rot. Go insane and start forming emotional bonds with bugs, spoons, and or maybe a rock. But that's only for a limited time until we get the new DLCs later this year. For the moment, we had our son Martin in position 1, but one of the younger sons was clearly starting to shape up to be the better long-term option. Either way, it was time to bully Sicily for more territory. We called in the French. After several rough battles, we finally secured the lands we wanted. Alrighty, this guy's been excommunicated. He has a faltering heart. We could just exacerbate it a little bit. Go ahead and torture him for a second. And then, done. Recently tortured. 7. Yeah, we can just ransom him home for the 130. Conveniently, their king died shortly afterwards, which let us immediately press another claim for Apulia before they could recover. While we were busy slaughtering more Sicilian troops, we finally made the decision on who would inherit the throne. Prince Bosun, the Prince of Fashion. Overall, he had pretty solid stats, and we managed to arrange him a suitable marriage with Menika, a genius who also happened to be our granddaughter, meaning Bosun was marrying his niece. Classic CK3 behavior. Unfortunately, the decision meant that we would have to disinherit Martin's older son. Apparently, while we weren't paying attention, he had somehow become the king of Pomerania, which was fantastic for his future, but not exactly ideal for ours. Then, in 1117, I accidentally created a holy order, which somehow shoved one of our city-holding sons back into succession and nearly caused a complete disaster for the run. Thankfully, we caught the issue just before Martin's death in 1118. Oh, boo. King Martin of Burgundy has found peace in Christ's embrace at 84 years old. He known for his life as a pilgrim. He died of cancer. And honestly, what a reign it had been. Our boy conquered most of Italy, shattered the HRE, and set us up firmly on the path to become a dominant force in Europe. Bosun ascended to the throne, immediately held a coronation. Everything seemed fine at first until we checked the vassal tab and realized half the realm wanted independence. Thankfully, we were prepared. We launched a preemptive strike against the leader of the rebellion in Sardinia before the faction could fully organize. The rebellion collapsed almost instantly. The conspirators were imprisoned, their lands confiscated, and we were quickly redistributing the territory to more loyal vassals. With the realm finally stable again, we held a grand funeral for our illustrious father, King Martin. With our new king of fashion on the throne, we finally on the path towards unlocking sanctioned loopholes. Ideally, we would have educated Bosun with a learning focus to speed this up, but I may have completely forgotten to do that. So instead, we're improving it by going on a pilgrimage in 1122, which gives us both piety and extra learning experience. Two birds, one stone. Fresh off our incredible holy journey, we decided to engage in a little light warfare by targeting Tunisia, another one of the many duchies required to restore Rome. At first, the war against the Zirid Sultanate was horrible. At times, to be us, I guess. The French will come save us. France, save us. I put you on this well, my father put you on that throne. Please come save us from this stupid behavior of mine. That's the sound we make. But thankfully, there's very little in CK3 that can't be solved with a giant pile of gold and some mercenaries. We also called on the French once again, because at this point, our entire empire had basically been carried by the French and the papacy. After years of waiting, we finally unlocked Sanctioned Loophole, which allowed us to purchase duchy claims for 500 piety each. Combined with the Innovation Chronicle writings, this meant we could now press multiple claims in a single war. Naturally, we immediately used this power to bully Sicily yet again. While the Sicilians were once more experiencing our wrath, the Pope announced a new crusade. Exciting! Until we found out in Iberia instead of Jerusalem, or the Byzantines. Tragic. By 1131, he had finally secured all of the Italy except for a single county, just in time for the crusade to begin. We joined the Holy War, mostly in hopes of farming some extra piety, and then that could later be converted into more claims. Unfortunately, despite winning a few battles, we didn't gain much from the campaign. Yeah, that's really bad timing. Because we're not going to win. Well, we might win. Wow, we do win. Just barely, though. How much piety to get that? Decent amount for the household. Then our luck finally ran out. The heretics actually managed to organize themselves while the Crusade armies proved completely useless. Before long, our forces were nearly wiped out. At this point, we decided to take our winnings and see just how much of Greece we could claim in a single war. We had nearly enough claims to force a massive war with the Byzantines and seize the western half of the empire. To get the final bit of piety, we went on one last pilgrimage, this time to Canterbury. He's 47, so he'll live to be long enough to maybe make this happen. Hopefully we get strong. Oh, great. By 1136, we finally had enough claims to take over more than half of the Byzantine Empire in a single war. If we succeeded, it would easily destroy the empire outright, or at least set it up for future destruction. At the opening of the conflict, we rushed straight to the city of cities itself, hoping to capture the emperor early and instantly ending the war. Unfortunately, instead of bagging the Basileus, all we got was some random black boar hide. So with our dreams crushed, we pushed onwards to siege down the rest of Thrace alongside our allies, the English. Meanwhile, the random crusade in Iberia had been dragging on for 7 years, finally ended with a Christian victory. We're good. We're good. We're gonna knock. Oh, wow. We won the crusade? Holy shit. I checked out. Do I still have top percentage? Yeah, I do. Nicholas, good luck being king. Putting yet another crown atop ahead of one of our Bruce dynasty members. After just 3 years of fighting, we successfully seized most of the Byzantine Greek territories. Oh my god, it's too much land! The difficult part now was figuring out how to divide all the new lands without going over our vast limit and detonating the realm. Fresh off our victory against the Eastern Romans, we immediately turned our attention towards the Georgians to grab yet another chunk of territory. In 1140, we launched the war, and if I had known the absolute disaster this conflict would have unleashed, I probably would have just stayed home. At first, the war was going very smoothly. Then rebellions started to pop up. Nothing too serious at first, just the usual annoyed rebels. But quickly escalated to the White Plague tearing through the kingdom. Even with the plague ravaging our lands, the war against the Georgians was still on track, especially with English support backing us up. The real issue was that our armies were operating so far from home that supplies started to run dangerously low, causing us to lose territory we had already fought to capture. With the war and plague consuming the realm, it felt like a good time to start our succession once again. Out of all of our heirs, we ultimately decided Bosun's son would inherit the throne. Unfortunately, while our armies were bogged down in Georgia, Toulouse decided it was a perfect moment to launch a liberty war against us. Thankfully, we caught an unbelievable break when the rebellion leader died from the plague or some equivalent tragedy, causing the entire faction to peace out almost immediately. I don't know. So we have 2 children. Compassionate. This one kind of sucks. I should have done a better job with this kid. After some deliberation, we changed our chosen heir from Bosun, Amalric. Why? Because we could absolutely pump up Amalric full of prestige, and unlike Bosun, he had a learning focus, which would make unlocking sanctioned loopholes far easier. Sorry, Bosun. By 1145, the kingdom was still in complete chaos, but at least the Toulousian rebels had finally been crushed. Unfortunately, the very next month, King Bosun succumbed to the consumption at the tragic young age of 58. King Amalric ascended to the throne during one of the most turbulent periods the realm had ever seen. Naturally, a new king meant it was time for a grand wedding in hopes of smoothing over the transition of power, but multiple rebellions were already brewing on the horizon. Meanwhile, the Georgian conflict was dragging on. After 6 miserable years of war, we were just hoping for a white peace at this point. Unfortunately, that outcome seemed increasingly unlikely. While the disaster slowly spiraled towards defeat, we at least managed to put down a Greek uprising back home. We tried, but unfortunately, the Georgians were too cunning. And then also the Khomeini didn't arrive in time. In the end, the Georgian war was a catastrophe. We lost our claims and burned through an absurd amount of gold for basically nothing. We should expand the realm again. Great. Then came 1148. More rebellions. This time in the north, in territories I gently forgot we even controlled. The moment we crushed that rebellion, another independence faction appeared, followed immediately by another Liberty War faction, and yet another Greek uprising for good measure. At this point, I was generally starting to lose my mind from the endless cycle of rebellions. And we don't have the troops, and I cannot with this run. I cannot with this run. This is so fucking not fun. This is entered into the realm of me. I hate this game. Every time one faction was defeated, 2 more would seemingly pop up. By 1151, we managed to suppress 2 of the rebellions, but we simply could not seize enough territory against the independence faction to force a favorable outcome. As a result, we lost several crucial regions, including Rome, Tunis, and an incredibly wealthy duchy of Toulouse. Things weren't completely doomed, but the situation had definitely gone from future Roman Empire to barely holding the realm together. Still, these setbacks were just another obstacle on our quest to create the smallest Rome imaginable. For the last stretch of this campaign, we decided to stream the whole thing to really showcase our incredible CK3 expertise. So if you want to watch a complete train wreck unfold in real time, go check out the VOD. Now that the rebellions were finally over, our next objective was to grind out more piety and learning so that we can unlock sanction loopholes once more. Annoyingly, several of the independent rulers immediately became our tributes right after breaking free. The AI sometimes makes the wildest decisions. It's just like, now we want to be brought back into the fold. If this guy also bends the knee as suzerain again, I'm going to lose my mind. Which is good because we still kind of controlled them, but also incredibly dumb by them because they're basically paying taxes to us again after fighting for independence. Unfortunately, the Pope had regained control of Rome, meaning we would once again have to take a massive piety hit and probably risk excommunication all over again just to claim a single county. Yeah, I'll lose a level of fame. This is actually kind of a good time to lose a level of fame because we're about to get it back. In 1158, we decided to attend university to speed up the progress towards unlocking sanction loopholes. While studying there, I discovered something I somehow never knew before. The divine right lets you seize all de jure lands. That discovery was huge. It allows you to reclaim several random duchies we had lost during the rebellions, along with the rest of Bulgaria, which we still hadn't taken from the Byzantines. Once again, we absolutely bodied the Greek pretenders and pushed deeper into former Byzantine territory. By 1162, we had expanded the kingdom considerably and regained most of the lands that we had lost, even if some of them were technically only under control through tributation. Just go ahead and upgrade all these guys. These guys haven't been stationed? Kevin, what are we doing? Just faffing about, that's for damn sure. Having a nice faff. In 1163, we went on an absolute duchy buying spree. We already had claims on most of Anatolia, but not quite enough. And we were also waiting for our truce with the Eastern Romans to expire. To pass the time, we went on yet another pilgrimage, this time to Santiago, where we gained absolutely massive total of 312 piety. Truly life-changing numbers. A couple of years later, we held a funeral for one of our cousins we didn't even know existed. During all this, we realized the expansion oath we had sworn earlier was about to come due. The problem? There was basically no way we could fulfill it. Failing the oath would nuke our legitimacy and drop us a level of fame, meaning we would have to start grinding prestige all over again. We lost another level of fame. Fuck, that's kind of actually not good. Because we need to be farming fame. And we also lost all our legitimacy. Ooh, that's really tough. Damn, okay. Still, the funeral restored some of the legitimacy, granted us enough piety to finally claim the last few duchies we needed in Anatolia. In 1167, we declared war on the Byzantines once again, and the campaign was progressing smoothly, right until another crusade was called, this time for Egypt. Of course, just as we were about to secure the final territories we needed, the Splintered Crusade event triggered, turning the situation into a race against time. Now Franco-Cratia happens? Are you fucking kidding me? We had to finish the war before the Byzantine Empire shattered apart, potentially locking us out of the lands we still needed. Would be really nice if they won this battle and not threw. Guys, why are you throwing? It doesn't matter, we won. Thankfully, with the help of the French, we managed to get everything wrapped up by 1170. To avoid going over our vassal limit, we handed all of Anatolia to a single vassal. Great for realm management, not so great for our boy Nicholas, who suddenly became responsible for half our kingdom. Next on the agenda, revenge against the Georgians for absolute nightmare they had caused us years earlier. We kicked off the campaign while we were composing our new bluegrass hit. The devil went up to Georgia. Devil went up to Georgia so he could conquer the land and make it into the Byzantine Empire no more. Told the man he had some crosses on his flag. Could not have them. Devil went up to Georgia looking for a throne to steal. Yeah, that's good shit. Eventually, sundering of the Byzantine Empire finally happened. Franco-Cratia! Franco-Cratia! Where though? Where though? Where though? It's just one county. Resulting in border gore was truly something special. To make matters even worse, we now are getting completely upstaged by the smallest Latin empire imaginable, consisting of exactly one county. The AI continues to mock me at every opportunity, and honestly, it hurts. With Georgia finally under our control, all that remained was some realm shuffling to get every territory into the correct position before creating our custom empire. We were finally in the end game. At this point, all we really needed to do was move some territory around and everything would fall into place. First, we need to access Cyprus, which was technically under the control of the Latin Empire, but not actually controlled by them on the map. Then, we need to gain ownership of one county in Cyprus so that we could hand the island over to the Pope. Once the Pope controls Cyprus, we just needed not to be at war in order to take the final decision to form an empire. Oh, and somehow along the way, I completely forgot the Armenian kingdom counted as part of the Byzantine Empire de jure territory, meaning we suddenly had to go steal it from the Seljuks. So naturally, we launched another war against the Persian menace. Our king entered the campaign with a monstrous 37 martial skill, barely proved enough to win the Battle of Tessaloniki. Unfortunately for him, all the constant stress finally caught up to him and developed a fatal heart mid-campaign. Of course, just as the war was winding down, the Seljuk Empire completely exploded, forcing us to fight several small cleanup wars just to gather the last crumbs of the land we needed. By the end of 1178, we finally created the Kingdom of Armenia, the final requirement needed to form our custom empire. If it doesn't do what I think it does, we're just gonna have a power outage and figure out what's wrong. So let's go ahead and found the Grand Burgundian Empire. For some reason, I rewarded this glorious achievement by giving our empire the ugliest not green map color imaginable. More importantly though, Cyprus was now the only remaining de jure Byzantine territory left in existence, which meant it was finally time for the war with the Pope. But before that, we needed papal approval for our coronation. Thankfully, gaining the Pope's blessing was incredibly easy when you simply throw piety at him like spare change. Do we still have our phallus, wooden phallus? Oh, fuck, chat. I let the wooden phallus break. Coronation went smoothly, and immediately afterwards, we declared war on the Pope, who had become the Byzantine Emperor. War absurdly fast, just 7 months, and it led to one of the weirdest sequences of events I've ever seen in CK3. But somehow taking Cyprus caused the Pope to lose not only the Byzantine title, but the papacy itself, which I had literally never seen happen before. Usually the Pope can lose every scrap of land he owns and still remain Pope. Apparently popes don't normally retire unless you're Pope Benedict. Anyways, back to the actual objective. We still had to fight the Egyptians. The final 2 duchies needed to restore Rome, Palestine, and Alexandria. At this point, though, no realm on the map could realistically challenge us anymore. The final hurdle was getting rid of most of the land, keeping only the 14 required duchies for the decision. Right as we were doing that, our ruler suffered a heart attack. I don't know, guys. The power just went out real quick. I'm so sorry. Power just somehow transitioned out, I don't know, or something like that, to prevent us from having to grind the insane amount of prestige for the next character. By 1184, we were finally standing on the edge of taking the decision and completing the smallest Rome challenge. And we're going to go no half measures. We're going full Hellenism all the way. And just like that, chat, it's done. Was it worth it? Was it worth it just to make the smallest Roman Empire ever? Probably not. I always do these challenges. It could just be like, why is it never like, hey, we do fun? Why can't we do fun Jillian challenges? Jillian does so much more fun challenges. I have to do dumb hard boy style challenges. We could just have whimsical fun challenges. Instead, we do this stupid ass shit all so that I can have Cyprus look red. So we have Cyprus, which is a kingdom, a duchy, a kingdom, a empire, and a hegemon. This thing is packing. Cyprus is packing. Let's just say that. Have a good night. Thank you. In the end, it took 117 years, 3 characters, 2 Roman pretenders, and a shit ton of piety to make the smallest Rome. Might have been easier to do this all as a different faith than Christianity, because we could have just had claims on all the lands, and we would have used the Holy War CBs to get it done. My sanction loophole method was quite something in the end. Hope you enjoyed this little descent into madness with CK3. If you enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel and check out our sponsor of this video, Manta Sleep. That's all I have for you today. Have a good rest of it. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.